Rosy Hardy. This is Rosy Hardy Gardening. Today we're going to do October question and answers. So I've got quite a few here. Let's get started. On the euphorbia video, somebody has asked about the remaining foliage that gets left. Is that evergreen? Yes, it is, because that is the material that is going to grow on for next year and actually flower for you. So it stays beautifully evergreen, giving you structure in the border, letting you know where it's going to be as it comes up through for the spring. Now I've got one or two here regarding the hydrangea cutting back video. Somebody wanted to know about the macrophylla ones. Those are the lace cap ones, and whether I would do a video on that. And also whether or not, you know, if wanting to rejuvenate one, whether if they did a light prune in February and about a third of the old branches out to encourage new growth, would that sound okay? To me, that sounds as though that's a good way of going forward and getting the plant back into shape, and then watching how it grows from there. Always make sure that the plants, after you've pruned them, etc., you've tidied up everything that you have and any leaf that's there, but also make sure you give them a bit of a feed, because they are now going to need to encourage new growth, so they need a little bit of food. Something quite basic, something like sulfate of potash is really, really good to just give a general feed. I would say yes, we probably can do a microphylla. We don't grow them here on the nursery, so I would have to go and find somebody's garden where they would allow me to attack their plants. Somebody was also a little bit confused about the hydrangea paniculata, always thought that you pruned it in the winter. Well, basically what I was saying was that because we had the plant material, I was showing how it would be pruned. You would prune it in late October, not months, I'm talking seasons. Now the reason why I'm talking seasons is that the seasons are changing depending on the month that we are in. So using months as a guideline is not very helpful anymore. We're in late October here in North Hampshire, and it's going to be 22 degrees centigrade today. That is ridiculous temperatures. So what we are getting is unseasonal weather, so you need to look at your plant material. Is it putting on growth? In which case don't do the pruning then. I'm just giving you a guideline that at the end of autumn you can prune, because the wood is not going to change between the end of autumn and winter, so it's really dependent on when you have got time to be able to manage pruning of your shrubs. Somebody here wanted more grasses in their garden, concerned that the grasses are going to take over a bit like bamboo does. Well, that's all down to the choice of the grass that you choose. So the majority of garden grasses that are now utilised for people are clump formers who slowly make larger clumps. However, quite a few of them, such as Stipa tenuissima, etc., seed, and therefore you get seedlings around the place. So if you don't like plants that seed, then stay away from those ones, or take the seed heads off before they get a chance to disperse. But part of the love of growing grasses is getting those seed heads there, because they just look so architectural. So it is the choice of the grass that you go. They are not like bamboo. They are not going to run and go through concrete and that sort of thing. So grasses are a good option. Just make sure you get the clump forming ones. Another one on grasses here, my Stipa tenuissima always flops. Is it too rich a soil? It sounds a little bit like that. Stipa tenuissima are plants that like to be in poor soil, the sort of moraine type, gravelly type soils or sandy soils. That's what they really like to grow in. So they grow in tough conditions, full sun, little food, and then they stay upright. If you overfeed them, they grow really, really lush, and yes, they will collapse. So treat them mean. Put them into much poorer soil conditions. If you're growing them in containers, again, make it a loam-based compost, and don't add any food. Just keep it as, keep it as mean as possible, and then they will grow much better for you. Right, somebody here was talking about cutting back plants and shrubs in the spring because it makes them vulnerable to frost if you cut them back in the autumn. They live in Western Denmark, so it's a different climate to here. Yes, absolutely. I will always say to people, if you are growing something outside and your temperatures are different to what we have here, then absolutely cut them back in the spring. However, if you've got something that is actually quite tall and you get a lot of wind and it's rocking and you get that horrible hole at the base and water and ice form in there, that is worse. That, you know, leaving it high is worse than cutting it to half height. So I'm not recommending the cut right down to ground level for everything. I'm talking about leaving stuff to give you structure, but also just get your plants so that they are safe from rocking, and that means a little bit of a halfway cut down, and that way they won't get caught by the frost. Okay, someone here has got Salvia microphylla and they're growing all over the path, and this is in October. If I prune them back to the edge, will I lose them in the winter? Well, it really depends on where you are. I don't know where this person is. So the answer is that you've got to be happy with the plants that you've got. If you don't like them falling over the edge, then by all means take them back a little bit, but do not cut. Microphyllas do not want to be cut down to ground level in the autumn, late autumn or winter. They're only halfway. That's all you should be cutting. So basically you can give them a trim so that they're not on your pathway, and then in the spring give them that follow-up prune. Here's someone who is saying that it's lovely to hear my thoughts behind placing plants for borders. Has a Pennisetum that suddenly this year only came back with one straw, and it's in a border where lots of plants grew and the grass suddenly has a lot of competition. Also maybe a bit of shade. So yes, that sounds perfectly possible. Sometimes if the plants are only sending up one flower head straw, then it could be that they haven't got enough feed there, or they are getting too much competition. Also, they can be of a size where they need to have a bit of division of them. Doesn't mean you have to lift the whole plant and divide it right the way through the middle. You can just take something off the side. That stimulus of taking a bit of plant away from the main plant will then make it come up and flower better. But if you've got it a little bit shady and it is getting a lot of competition, I would move it personally, and I would do that in the spring. Someone here again stating the fact that it's nearly the end of October, but we are in an unseasonably warm October, especially here in the UK, and they said they've bought a Salvia cherry lips and wondering if it's too late to prune. Well, the answer is no. You can still get rid of the dead flower head. The one thing about getting rid of dead flowers is that if you leave the flowers there to die, they get botrytis and they rot, and that can be worse than cutting them back, because that will get into the stems and it will go further down. So if you get rid of old flower head and just make the plants tidy, you can do it now. Absolutely, that's no problem at all. Someone here is talking about the fact that they've got heucheras, and the heucheras flower in the spring, and there are some beautiful coloured flowers on some of the heucheras, and then it's just foliage for the rest of the year. Asking about the alstroemeria and whether or not here those alstroemeria flower right the way through to the fall, and the answer is yes, as long as you keep dead heading. And with alstroemeria, when the flower heads are finished, you tug the flower stems out to stimulate more buds lower down, and then the flower comes. You remove any yellow leaf as well at the same time, so continually going out, say once every 2 weeks, and just seeing if there's dead flower, pull it off, and that will stimulate them, and yes, they will carry on flowering right the way through till the first frosts. And lastly, this one here is about Rudbeckia triloba and whether or not it self-seeds. And someone has got it in a garden, in a cut flower in zone 5. And they don't really want them seeding around too much. So is Helenium a better idea? And do the Helenium seed? So a lot of questions in that area there. So basically, Rudbeckia triloba, yes, it will self-seed around. So that's really up to you. I mean, I love self-seeders. I think that's brilliant because you're getting free plants and all you've got to do is thin them out. So from my point of view, I don't mind if they self-seed, but I will always say to people, yes, they can do. Obviously, triloba is short-lived, so you will want replacements. So you need a few of the seedlings to come on, so that you've always got plants there that are flower. They are really good, and they're good as cut flower as well. Heleniums don't tend to seed unless they are the species ones. So any of the named varieties will not set seed, and they are propagated by division, and you would do that division in the spring. Hopefully that has answered the questions that were here. Please do subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching.